Ethan had never expected Zephyra to be so crowded. The neon lights of the city painted the streets in bright colors, reflecting off the slick metal surfaces of alien buildings. Towering above him, creatures of all shapes and sizes moved through the marketplace, their eyes glinting with curiosity and suspicion. Humans were rare here, and most aliens assumed they were weak and fragile. Ethan had learned long ago that being underestimated was an advantage. He moved quietly, his eyes scanning the crowd, noticing the smallest details. A merchant struggling to balance his wares, a group of alien children playing with strange glowing devices, a few guards standing at the corners with their weapons ready. His instincts told him something was off tonight. As he passed a narrow alley, a sudden shout cut through the noise of the market. Aliens scattered, screaming, and the metallic clang of weapons echoed in the distance. Ethan's heart quickened, not with fear but with the thrill of action. He knew he had to see what was happening. He slipped through the crowd, his human form nimble enough to avoid detection. When he reached the source, he saw a small group of Zephyran police surrounding a young alien woman. She was tall, with silver skin that shimmered in the neon light and her eyes wide with fear. Her hands were raised, pleading. The officers were closing in, their weapons aimed, voices harsh and demanding. Ethan's eyes narrowed. He had heard rumors about Corvin, the infamous gang leader, and his wife Lyra. She was known to carry secrets that could shake the entire underworld of Zephyra. Now she was in danger and no one else dared intervene. Ethan didn't think twice. He stepped into the open, shouting, "Hey, back off!" The officers turned, surprised by the sudden human challenge. He raised his arms, showing he was unarmed but ready. "She's not going anywhere with you." The nearest officer sneered. "A human? You can't stop us." His voice was sharp, filled with condescension. Ethan smiled, a small, confident smile. He had faced creatures stronger than this before, and he knew strength wasn't always about muscle. It was about speed, wits, and courage. The first officer lunged forward. Ethan sidestepped with ease, his human agility giving him an edge. He grabbed a nearby metal pipe and swung it, knocking the officer off balance. Chaos erupted as the others advanced, weapons flashing. Ethan moved like a shadow, dodging, striking, and creating space between Lyra and the police. Each move was calculated, precise, and unexpected. Lyra gasped, watching the human fend off trained officers with surprising skill. Fear in her eyes mixed with disbelief. Who are you?" she whispered. Ethan didn't answer. His focus was total. He grabbed Lyra's hand and pulled her behind a stack of crates. "Stay close and don't move too fast," he instructed. "I'll get us out of here." The officers regrouped, their movements coordinated, but Ethan had already studied the alley. Narrow spaces, hanging cables, crates, he turned every element into an advantage. He ducked low, kicked a crate toward one officer, and sent it tumbling into another. Sparks flew as weapons collided with metal. Lyra tried to keep up, but she stumbled over the uneven ground. Ethan caught her just in time. "Careful," he said, his voice calm despite the danger. "We can't afford mistakes." They ran deeper into the alleyways, weaving through the maze-like streets. The sounds of pursuit grew fainter, but Ethan knew it was only a matter of time before the police adapted. He needed a plan, and fast. They ducked into a small side entrance, a hidden door that led to a forgotten tunnel beneath the city. It smelled damp and the walls were lined with pipes and cables, but it was safe for the moment. Lyra leaned against the wall, catching her breath. Her silver skin glimmered faintly in the dim light. Why did you help me?" she asked, still trembling. Ethan shrugged, wiping sweat from his brow. "Someone had to. You didn't deserve that. No one should be treated like that, no matter who they are." His voice was steady, carrying an unexpected authority. "I've learned humans have a way of surviving where others fail. Sometimes it's about taking risks others won't." Lyra studied him, her fear slowly giving way to curiosity. "You're different. Humans aren't supposed to be able to do what you just did." Ethan smiled faintly. "That's the point. Being underestimated is the best advantage." They moved further into the tunnel, the distant sounds of the city muffled above. Ethan glanced at Lyra, noticing her eyes darting nervously. He realized she must be terrified, not just of the police but of what her husband and the underworld might think if she was captured. "We need to get somewhere safe," he said. "Do you know a place?" Lyra nodded slowly. "There's a safe house abandoned for years. My husband, he used it once for emergencies. It's not far from here, but we have to move carefully. If the police catch us again, Her voice trailed off, fear obvious. Ethan didn't need her to finish. He knew the stakes. "Lead the way," he said. As they emerged from the tunnels into a deserted street, Ethan noticed the city wasn't entirely empty. Shadows moved in the distance. Watchers, perhaps hired informants, or aliens curious about the chase. He kept his hand close to his side, ready to act, his senses alert. Humans had a way of noticing details others overlooked. That attention could be the difference between life and death. Lyra led him through a series of twisting alleys and narrow streets. Each turn, each corner was calculated. Ethan admired her knowledge, even if it was born of fear. They reached a tall, decrepit building. Its window shattered, the door hanging loosely on its hinges. This was the safe house. Inside, the air was thick with dust, and the faint scent of old machinery lingered. Lyra moved quickly, checking for signs of intrusion. "It's been untouched for years," she said. "We should be safe here." "For now," Ethan nodded. "Good, but we can't stay long. The city is too alive with watchers and patrols. We need a plan." They settled into a small room at the back of the building. Lyra pulled out a small device and tapped it, sending a message through encrypted channels. Ethan watched as her fingers moved quickly, revealing her familiarity with technology and secrecy. The device beeped softly and she leaned back, sighing. "My husband, he'll know what happened," she said, "and he'll call in favors. People owe him, and now they might owe me as well." Ethan's curiosity piqued. "Favors? You mean—" "Back up," Lyra nodded. "Corvin doesn't forgive easily. Anyone who threatens his family learns quickly that debts aren't optional. But I don't know if I can trust anyone right now. Not the police, not the gangs. Only you have proven yourself." Ethan leaned back, considering the situation. Humans had a way of adapting to chaos, and he had thrived in worse. He knew this wasn't just about defending one woman. This was about survival, alliances, and the unpredictable power of human courage in a world that underestimated it. Night fell, and the city outside grew quieter, though the distant hum of alien vehicles continued. Ethan and Lyra spoke little, conserving energy and focus. Every sound could signal danger. Every shadow could hide an enemy. Hours passed, and Lyra finally spoke again. "You've done something no one else could. You protected me, without asking for anything, that is, air." Her voice carried a hint of admiration, almost disbelief. "If word spreads, my husband will know someone human is worth noticing." Ethan smirked. "I don't do it for recognition. I do it because it needs to be done. Humans have a way of surviving, and sometimes that means standing where others would run." Lyra studied him, and for a moment her fear seemed replaced by respect. "You're different," she said softly. "Stronger than anyone I've met here. And smarter." Ethan shrugged. "Different is good. It keeps people guessing." Suddenly the device beeped again. Lyra's eyes widened. "Corvin. He's calling in favors. He's gathering people. If what I hear is correct, there could be hundreds coming tomorrow. They'll come to ensure my safety, or to repay debts. Either way, we need to be ready." Ethan's mind raced. Hundreds of aliens converging on the city. It sounded impossible, yet he felt no fear, only determination. Humans had a way of turning impossible situations into victories. He looked at Lyra and said calmly, "Then we prepare. Humans aren't afraid when everyone else is. We adapt, we fight, and we survive. By tomorrow, no one will doubt what a human can do." Outside, the city continued its restless life, unaware of the storm approaching. Inside the safe house, a human and an alien woman shared a quiet determination, each relying on instincts, courage, and trust. And as the first hints of dawn touched the horizon, distant lights flickered, shapes in the sky that hinted at the arrival of hundreds of ships, heralding a day that would change everything on Zephyra. Ethan smiled faintly. Humans were underestimated too often. Tomorrow that would change. The first light of dawn painted the city of Zephyra in pale gold, and Ethan stood at the edge of the safe house's rooftop, watching the horizon. Hundreds of ships hovered, their metallic hulls reflecting the weak sunlight. 200 of them, as Lyra had predicted, slowly descending from the orbit. The scale of what was coming could have terrified most of the city's inhabitants, but Ethan's human instinct was calm. He had faced impossible odds before, and humans had a way of turning chaos into opportunity. Lyra joined him, her silver skin glinting faintly. Her eyes were wide with awe and fear, but she trusted Ethan's calm. They're all here, she said softly. 200, and they're heading straight for the city. Ethan nodded, scanning the streets below. Good, that's predictable. Humans can handle numbers if we understand the pattern. We need to anticipate where they'll land, how they'll spread, and how to make the first move. Lyra looked at him in disbelief. You're calm. When everyone else would panic? Ethan shrugged. Panic doesn't solve anything. Humans use strategy, observation, and quick thinking. That's how we survive. The ship's shadows stretched across the city as they descended. Alien citizens began fleeing, their screams echoing through the streets. Zyphira's police forces scrambled, but their coordination was sloppy in the chaos. Ethan knew that the first few moments were crucial. If he acted quickly, he could turn the confusion into an advantage. He led Lyra back into the safe house and down into the old tunnels beneath the city. We need to control the streets above, he explained. If we can block key points and disrupt their movement, we can slow them down. That will give Corvin's allies a chance to regroup, and us a chance to survive. Lyra nodded, moving quickly to help him prepare. They placed obstacles, set up alarms, and used old machinery to create traps. Every turn, every narrow alley was accounted for. Ethan's human ingenuity turned the abandoned safe house into a command center. He instructed Lyra on how to monitor the streets, how to communicate quietly, and how to anticipate the aliens' movements. By mid-morning, the first ships began to touch down. Ethan and Lyra watched from the tunnels as the landing pads shook under the weight of massive vessels. Aliens poured out, weapons at the ready, scanning for threats. Most assumed they would find a city unprepared for such an assault. They were wrong. Ethan moved through the tunnels, scouting, observing patterns in the enemy's movements. His human instincts detected what the aliens did not: their hesitation, their overconfidence, their reliance on sheer numbers rather than strategy. He relayed instructions to Lyra, who communicated with Corvin's allies across encrypted channels. Slowly, the tide began to shift. The first confrontation came when a squad of alien police moved to secure a major intersection. Ethan waited, watching their formation, counting their numbers, and noting their weapons. Then, with precise timing, he triggered a series of traps they had set earlier. Crates toppled, wires sparked, and loud noises echoed. The squad panicked, scattering in confusion. From the shadows, Ethan moved like a predator, guiding Lyra through safe routes and taking advantage of every opening. He used the city itself as a weapon. The narrow streets slowed enemy reinforcements, overturned carts blocked escape routes, and the confusion allowed small groups of Corvin's allies to ambush the disoriented attackers. Lyra, initially terrified, began to gain confidence under Ethan's guidance. She followed his instructions, directing allies, helping set up diversions, and using her insider knowledge of the city's layout to anticipate enemy movements. Together, they were a force the aliens had not expected. A human and an alien woman turning the odds in a city overwhelmed by fear. Hours passed, and the city's streets became a maze of controlled chaos. The alien forces were powerful, but they were unprepared for the ingenuity of humans and the coordination of unexpected allies. Ethan led them through careful ambushes, using misdirection and quick improvisation to strike where the enemy was weakest. By midday, news spread among the aliens that the city's defenses were unusually effective. Many began to doubt the leadership of the police and their superiors. Ethan knew this was his advantage. Confidence could crumble with the right pressure, and humans excelled at exploiting doubt and fear. Then, the largest threat arrived. Corvin himself appeared, surrounded by elite guards, not as an enemy, but to ensure the safety of his wife and to observe Ethan. Lyra's eyes widened as her husband landed, his massive frame filling the street. Ethan didn't flinch. He greeted Corvin calmly. "You've done well," Corvin said, his voice deep and commanding. "Humans are unpredictable. I underestimated you." Ethan nodded. "I don't need to be understood. I just need to survive, and so does she." Corvin smiled faintly, then turned to Lyra. "You are safe because of him," he said, his tone respectful. "I see now. Humans have value beyond what we expected." With Corvin's support, Ethan gained allies who knew the city better than anyone else. They moved together, combining forces to create choke points and traps for the remaining alien police squads. Each encounter highlighted the human advantage: quick thinking, adaptability, and fearlessness in the face of overwhelming odds. By late afternoon, the enemy forces were in disarray. Their communications were disrupted, morale was low, and confusion reigned. Hundreds of ships hovered above, but without coordination on the ground, their numbers were meaningless. Ethan had turned what could have been disaster into a tactical victory using brains over brawn. Lyra watched in awe as humans' reputation for courage and ingenuity became clear. She had feared for her life, but now she understood why Ethan had been able to defend her so effectively. His calm under pressure, his ability to adapt, and his resourcefulness were traits she had never seen in any alien, even her husband's most trusted allies. As night fell, the city began to quiet. The alien police had retreated, their forces scattered and disorganized. Corvin addressed his allies, praising Ethan's leadership and quick thinking. Lyra approached Ethan, her eyes filled with gratitude and respect. "You did something no one else could," she said softly. "The entire city owes you now. I never imagined a human could do this." Ethan smiled faintly. "I didn't do it for thanks. I did it because it needed to be done. Humans have a way of surviving, even when everyone else doubts us." Corvin stepped forward, placing a massive hand on Ethan's shoulder. "Consider yourself an ally, not just to me, but to the city. You've earned respect that even the most powerful cannot take lightly. Tomorrow, this city will remember a human's courage." Ethan nodded, looking out at the horizon. The ships above had not left, and he knew that tomorrow might bring another challenge, but for now, the city was safe. His human instinct to protect, to think ahead, and to act decisively had turned the tide. He had shown what humans were capable of when underestimated. Lyra stood beside him, no longer frightened but inspired. "I understand now," she said. "Humans, we misjudged them. You've shown me strength, intelligence, and courage that I never imagined." Ethan's eyes scanned the city one last time before he replied, "It's not about being better. It's about doing what others won't and surviving when others fail. That is what humans do. That is what makes us different." The city's lights flickered in the distance, reflecting off the hulls of ships above. For now the chaos had settled. For now a human had proven his value not with sheer strength but with courage, intelligence, and the ability to act when others hesitated. And as Ethan and Lyra looked out over Zephyra, they both understood that the events of today would be remembered forever, not just as a victory, but as a testament to what humanity could achieve when underestimated. Ethan knew that challenges would come again. More ships, more forces, and perhaps greater dangers awaited. But he also knew that humans had something the aliens could not fully comprehend: adaptability, courage, and the relentless drive to survive and protect. And in a city like Zephyra, that was enough to change the course of events, to inspire awe, and to leave a mark that would never be forgotten. The night settled over the city, the hum of distant ships fading, but the impact of a single human's actions would echo through Zephyra for a long time. And Ethan, standing tall, ready for whatever came next, understood that humans were underestimated at their own risk.